Chairman, there's no question the Corinthian borrowers were defrauded, and that fraud was so severe that they were entitled to full relief. In fact, the Department of Education found that Corinthian education provided little or no value. Madam Secretary, do you agree Corinthian defrauded students?
Congressman, I know that there were a number of students that attended Corinthian programs that have claims for financial harm based on their experiences and their individual circumstances. And we are continuing to work to make sure that those claims are ultimately processed and those students are responded to. Again, unfortunately, the courts have stopped our processing of those.
But there has been countless memos developed by your own attorneys in the Department of Education about the wholesale defrauding of students by Corinthian. And in fact, the court filings by over 20 state attorney generals would disagree that this is a widespread issue. But do you agree that Corinthian misled students on the college's graduation rates? They falsely asserted a degree would result in a guaranteed employment, and that academic credits from Corinthian would be accepted and transferable to other colleges. Do you agree that those students were misled?
I think in some cases that was probably the case, but I also know that the prior administration basically forced schools like Corinthian out of business. They put financial restrictions on Corinthian that didn't allow the school to even continue operating anymore. What we need
But the fundamental question with Corinthian, you can agree or disagree, and I'll ask, that Corinthian provided no educational value to its students as a result of fraud, and that was pervasive before any discussion by any administration regarding that program.
I don't agree with that narrative. I think there are many students that received valuable education from Corinthian, just like they do from many other institutions. The question is what students among them were financially harmed.
Referencing the same NPR story that my colleague, Ms. Davis, referenced from yesterday, the internal communication in the Department of Education from January 10th, 2017 concludes, given this extensive, well-documented, pervasive, and highly publicized misconduct, the department has determined that the value of an IT&T education like Corinthian is likely either negligible or non-existent. Accordingly, it is appropriate for the department to award eligible borrowers full relief. So, do you agree that those loans before July 1st, 2017 are subject to the Borrower Defense Fund standard?
They certainly are subject to the borrower defense rule, but they're not subject, or they are not automatically subject to full and complete forgiveness of every single loan.
Okay.
That is, I mean, even the prior administration individuals acknowledged that there were up to 40% of the Corinthian claims filed that weren't even eligible for consideration. And so,
but the
again,
1994
I'm sorry, I go back to the fact that there was no process, there was no way to really consider these claims. I inherited no process. We had to create a process.
But the 1994 standard.
I understand that some of you here want to just have blanket forgiveness for anyone who raises their hand and files a claim, but that simply is not right.
No, I think most of us here want justice for these taxpayers that happen to be borrowers, for them to receive the relief that they need to receive. And the 1994 standards established that these claims are subject to state law standard, meaning those 20 states that found that the college engaged in fraud, those students are entitled to borrower's defense. And how many of these loans, pending loans, fall within that criteria of the loans that you're talking about, that we're talking about with Corinthian, and that are seeking relief from the department? It's a question.
Is that a question?
Yes.
I don't have the specific number of Corinthian claims that are still pending. Perhaps General Brown can help.
Well, I think, Judge Kim in her decision said, this is a problem that the government created, Madam Secretary. You have an obligation to provide relief to those borrowers regardless of cost. Do you agree with that?
We have an obligation to follow the rules and to follow the law, and we have implemented a process that will actually allow us to do that. We had implemented one. The
Well,
court,
in the
the
defense
court
of-
didn't agree with the
In the
data we were
protection of
using.
taxpayers, you know, we have to agree that those seeking relief are taxpayers, and the department should be doing something about protecting them as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and I'm going to have to be a little